Hey, this is Eric with Eric's Barbecue and More, and today we're going to be installing an 18 wide by 14 tall garage door. As you can see, the opening space here, this is where the new door is going to be. I just finished installing a 12 by 14 tall, just for, get myself familiarized with the process. My first time installing garage doors, and man, this is a doozy. So I'll be doing this solo most of the way. The 18-footer, I think I'm gonna have some issues with lifting some of the pieces, so I might have to get a helper. But I'm gonna take you on this journey and show you the process. Stay tuned. All right, before we get started, we're gonna wanna design our garage door. So you'll go to Menards website, and on this first page, you'll see at the bottom here, a design and buy key. You'll want to scroll to the right and you'll see garage door. Click on that and you'll come to the design studio, start designing, and I picked residential and then traditional steel, and I clicked on the best. That has the best R value. All right, and then you'll start designing your door. This is going to be an 18 wide. You'll click on more sizes and select the height, which is 14 foot is 0 inch. Takes a few seconds and then it'll load in kind of a preview of your door up the upper left there. Then you just simply answer the questions as they appear. Now you'll pick your color, your style. I believe ours was the mocha brown or bronze. I think it was bronze actually. I think it was mocha brown. Then you'll see your preview up at the top left will change to the color you picked. Now you're gonna, some of the selections you've already picked through aren't selectable. So now you're gonna pick your window type. You can either have no windows or you can do the traditional. I did the traditional, and then next it's gonna ask you at which location. So it's defaulting at section 5. Of course, there's different designs of the windows. Ours is going to be the second from the top, so that'll be 7. So we'll click on that, then you'll see a change up here. So now we have our windows where we want them. There's all kinds of options here. I, of course, want the insulated glass. Now you need to select your headroom height available. Mine was 13 to 32. Your design may be a little different. Your building may be a little different. This was kind of cool. You could actually pick the door rails to pitch with the roof. And then you just have to look up on your truss drawings what your pitch is. I believe mine actually was a 212. I picked 312 in this demonstration, but 212 was my actual. Now you need to select these items. So yes, for if it has a automatic opener, and some of these are unselectable. Like I actually did a side mounted unit, so I didn't need the brace, but it sends it anyway. Then you just add your design, give your design a name, and then you can save your design. Then you can go back and view it. You could design another door with some different options and see what the price difference is, what your savings and so forth. Or you can save this and come back to it later. So pretty cool website, and I recommend Menards. All right, so the first step is going to be to install this trim piece here. This just gets nailed on, and I put mine pretty much flush, maybe a 1/4 inch back. And for the most part, it's every other nail, so it can be adjusted relatively easily. The next step is going to be to start your panel that has the weather strip on the bottom, and you're going to put all of your hardware on per the instructions. This big door is going to require one of these metal braces every door, whereas the 12-foot door only had it at the very top. So we also got a man lift that my buddy let me borrow. Definitely need that to do anything that is this big. 100% need it, especially if you're by yourself. All right, I've got my makeshift ATV cart, and you're going to want to lay out all of your hinges. These have numbers on them, so you can see that's number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then the top bracket looks like this. So on the ones that have multiple number 4s, the hinges with the numbers are going to go on the outside of the door. So this would be number 1, 2, 3, 4. Then there's another number 4, 5, and then the top one, or 6, and then the top one. And then all the middle ones are all number 1s. So the instructions are pretty clear on how to do that. On the taller doors, I got these doors from Menards. These are Ideal doors, and the instructions are okay, but there's some supplemental instructions for the taller doors. If you don't read that packet ahead of time, it can be a little confusing on where the hinges go and how to handle multiple of the same hinge. So, for example, I've got, of course, a lot of number 1s because those are also used in the middle. The 2s make sense, the 3s. The 4s, though, I had multiple sets, so I just assumed you just put the next door up with the 4 as well, so it's still in the same sequence. But you know, in hindsight, it's pretty easy to figure out. But it was a little bit confusing the first door I did because it was the first time I've ever done it. So anyway, let's get to work. All right, so I've got the first panel in, and you install a nail that's toe-nailed in to capture the edge to hold the panel in place. And you want to make sure these nails are in there good so that they catch the door to keep it from coming out. Also got the machine, the lift. I'm gonna move it closer as the wall gets taller so that if something did happen, the door wouldn't fall very far if these nails decide to give. So I did that on this one and it worked out fine. So let's keep going. These panels are much heavier than the 12-foot door. I'm gonna be struggling. So we'll get the next one up on our sawhorses and put the hardware on and get to stacking. All right, got the second panel up. Nails in. One thing I forgot, which you'll see in the time lapse, is I needed to shim the door just slightly to make sure that the door is good and plumb going up on the stack. One other little thing I did, and I might do to all of the nails, is I tied them in just a little bit. This one didn't want to stay. It was just barely holding on. So as this thing stacks up, it's going to get heavier and heavier. Of course, that's all in shear, but just to be safe, I went ahead and tied it off. So I'll probably do that on a couple of them as we go up, just to help a little extra security. All right, let's grab the next panel and keep moving on. All right, third door is in place. Looking good. One thing you gotta be careful of is make sure you don't catch on these vinyl. You need to make sure you're pushing those out. Make sure it's not bound up inside of here, because it'll mess them up and then you'll be replacing them. I decided I'm gonna flip the lift around. I got the controls and so forth on this side, so there's not as much room to work with. And then I'm gonna put some towels on top, or padding on top of the rails, because I'm gonna be setting the door on top of that, and I don't want to scratch it up. I may omit that, I don't know, we'll see. All right, we've got our fourth panel up. That was the first one I used the lift with. You'll see in the time lapse. Let's keep rolling. All right, so we've got 5 panels up, and we're down to our glass panel, which is a lot heavier. I'll probably have to get the wife to help me get it up on there so that I can hoist it into space. All right, all the panels are up. So now we got to do our track, which I've already put together. They have different numbered clips. That one's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I'm supposed to have a 10th one, but unfortunately Menards Ideal Door shorted me on those, so I'll have to run an hour-and-a-half round trip to Menards to get those. But they're not going to slow me up for this. I'm going to leave them off, and then I'll add them back on once I get over to Menards. And then we'll do our upper track. So far so good. All right, the outside vertical track is installed. Note that you want to shim up the track a 1/2 inch, so you got a little 1/2 inch shim there. Used on both sides. Then you want to hold a 1/2 inch in between here when you're putting the brackets on. And now I can remove the nails that are holding the panels all the way up, except for the very top one. That one won't be supported until we get the radius piece and the horizontal track put in, just like that one up there. All right, so to put the track up, I've got, you can see an orange strap up there. That'll hold the end, and then I'll hold it up here and try to fasten it to the track while being in the middle. These are the kind of things you have to do when you're by yourself. All right, so got the strap up there, holding one end, I've bolted the other end, added that little brace, and that one wheel is now secure, so that top panel, if there's a lot of wind tonight, it's not gonna go anywhere. I've also got a wire tied on both ends to the bracket that's mounted to the wall, so shouldn't have any issue with that. So I'm gonna call it a day and start again on this tomorrow. All right, we are on day 2 of installing this massive 18 by 14 garage door. And it's pretty chilly today. I got the heater going for the first time because I've never had this garage to a point where it was all closed up. I'm gonna be getting spray foam next week, hopefully, if the weather warms up enough to be able to do it. So once that's in here, man, it's gonna be awesome. So let's get to work. All right, I've just set up a laser to project up here. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it. But I'm shooting across to make sure my lumber is in line. Just a little OCD thing, but I'll mark where those marks are on the rafters or on the trusses, and then get my board up. All right, so I've got my brace support pieces, rear track brace support pieces. And I made sort of a T-shape so that that board has another board going vertically, which I'll show you a close-up when we get up on this one up here. One thing they don't tell you on the rear track, first off, this is only for 24 inches max height. So with mine having the track that actually follows the truss, I've got a 212 pitch slope on my trusses, and my track follows that slope, which I ordered special, which is very easy on Menards website, by the way, to get this ordered correctly. I was a little worried about that, but it turned out perfect. But anyway, on doors that are 12 foot and taller, you have to have 2 rear braces. So you have to buy 2 of these packs. Or you can buy the perforated metal and make your own, cut your own pieces to do the rear support. But just wanted to let y'all know about that. So we'll keep working. All right, I'm up at the track, putting in the second set. You can see the first set there. This will be the middle support, just like that over there. And one kind of thing you gotta do is you do have to pre-drill this one. There's no spot for it. I measured 8 foot from the wall up, so they'd be all consistent. You want it just in the midpoint. Pretty simple, but just FYI. All right, one little tip, if you have access to one, a little magnetic laser, you can set it on the track here so that you can align the track so that it's parallel to the door, and that'll help later when we're trying to make sure we're square. So when the door goes up, you maintain a 1/2 inch between the track and the inside face of the door. So just a little tip, I didn't do this on that one until after the track was already up, but I was able to check it with the laser. And the manual, it calls for doing a cross dimension and checking that the tracks are parallel. But when you're solo, there is no way you could do that. So I luckily have access to this laser, and I'm able to get that good and plumb. I don't know if you can see how good that is, but it's right on the edge. Perfect. All right, so we got this side braced up, and we are going to move to the other side. All right, I am currently assembling the springs onto the shaft. Of course, you put this in with the keys, just per the instructions. The instructions that came with this one did not have directions for 4 springs. I have 4 springs. So I had to go online and I found a manual for an 18 by 14 with 4 springs, and I'm using that for the assembly instruction. One of the big things you got to make sure you do is you got to ignore the tables that they have on the instructions and only go by what's on this tag. So number of turns 12.8. So make sure that you use the number of turns that are on the springs. Each spring set has a tag on it. And they all will be the same. They're all going to say, 12.8. The springs up there ended up being, I can't remember what it was, but they were both the same. It was 55 or 51 quarter turns, whatever that is, divided by 4 was the number of turns. They do have the white line painted on them, so you can count the turns if you do lose track, but I don't recommend losing track. So this one being such a huge spring, it's only a 12.8. But anyway, just thought I'd let you know that. I'm gonna keep assembling. It has gotten dark on me. I went to Menards today to pick up the parts that are missing, and they did not have them. So hopefully Ideal is gonna be sending those parts to me directly to my house, and I don't have to drive another hour and a half to get to Menards. We'll see. All right, so I'm moving on to installing the spring. The spring is very heavy, so I'm trying to install the shaft first, and then was able to pull the shaft away from the left side and put in a couple springs. Now I'm temporarily supporting those. I do have a bolt and that spring right there, right there. That one has bolts in it, and I'm using that ratchet strap to put to pick the spring up slightly so that the shaft slides easier through there, so that I can pull it back off of this end to put the other 2 springs on. So wish me luck on doing this by myself. Oh, and also talked to Menards. Of course, they didn't supply me with the correct diagram, and what confused me was that I had these guys, which are part of that are on a bracket on the very ends, like an additional support. But in the fine print, it says that you only need that for a 20-foot wide door. This being 18, I do not need it. So I only need 4 brackets, which is what I have, so I can move on with the spring install. All right, so I got all the springs up there. I've still got to attach 3 brackets. I've got some temporary straps held in place. Not an easy thing to do. Definitely have to have a lift if you're going to do a door this size. This bracket up here is attached, but I've got to do the other 3. And I'm going to evenly space them across there. I've also got the laser there so that I can measure up to the shaft, make sure that it is level across. And other than that, it's going smoothly. All right, so I got the springs installed, well, not wound yet, but installed. And I wanted to show you what you look for on how to wind. First off, I had to get a 4-foot piece. You could do a 3-foot piece. You need at least 18 inches of 5/8 cold rolled steel. You got to get cold rolled because these springs are going to be very, very, very hard to turn. And if you use hot rolled, then you could potentially bend the rod while you're in the middle of winding, which would not be good. So I went to a Tractor Supply. I went to Tractor Supply and I was able to find 5/8 cold roll stock. It came in 3 and 4 foot lengths. I could only get the 4 foot, so I'm gonna have 2 foot bars for my winding, which is gonna be good. I'll have more leverage, but that's next, and that's the scary part. Stay tuned. And here is what Menards gives you on every spring, at least on these big ones. You're gonna have a number of turns. So at the top there, it says number of turns 12.8. So you wanna take that number, multiply it by 4, and then I kind of ran down to the nearest number. That's the number of quarter turns you're gonna make, because you can only turn the spring a quarter at a time, and I count the quarter turns. So we will do that, and hopefully we survive. All right, so got some gloves, got my 5/8 by 2 foot long cold rolled steel. I'm ready to wind these things. So they are rated, they require 12.8 rotations, full rotations. Multiply that by 4, you get 51.2. So we'll do 51 quarter turns. 51 quarter turns on each spring. Get in a good position here. Go up a little bit more. That's not going to be me in y'all's way. I'm going to do several of these, but I want to make sure these are rotating the correct way. So there is a line right here that's printed on here. It's at the bottom. Two. 3, 4, 5. So we're gonna check our work. We're at 40, so we should have 10. We have 10 lines, or spaces, equal spaces. So we know that our 40 count is correct. So we're going to 51. 41. 48. So 48 should be 12. 12. All right, a couple more. 51. All right, 51. So now we lock down our set screws. This is a solid shaft, so you want to go no more than 1/2 of a turn after you touch the shaft with the set screw. So I've got a 7/16 12 point, which works on these. So I'm gonna hand tighten. Okay, I know it's touched it. The other set screw. Just gotta be super careful to make sure that this rod stays seated in there. And that's a 1/2. Quarter. 1/2. All right, if I did it right, should be able to pull this up, let pressure off this, and then let down gently. All right, now the spring is pushing down. We now have good tension on our cable, making sure that our cable is going on the correct path. And I'm gonna go ahead and load one of the springs on the other side, doing the same direction because it's the opposite hand spring. And then I'll load the one on this side. And so that way we kind of have some evenness between the sides. So we've got our line right there, 51 turns. Now we tighten our set screws. Repeat. You just got to be very methodical. Make sure you're fully seated when you let things go, and pray to God that the set screws stay. Do their job about at the top. Yeah, right there, straight. So, 1. set screws. All right, 2 out of 3. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? This is 14. I don't want to forget 14. I need to clamp the door so that it doesn't spring open. I forgot to do that. 14. Don't forget 14. I'm gonna put a clamp on the door to keep it from opening up as we get this last spring on here. Should have done that before I started. My bad. All right. So I'll show you what I did there. I just simply put a C-clamp on the door, keep it from opening up unexpectedly. Get you adjusted. All right, close enough. 14, I'm on 14. Okay. 15. No, 14. This is 15. Okay. We can put a rope on there. 2 out of whack. Making sure the gap stays. Okay. Adjustments have been made. Let's see if this works. All right, garage door installation is complete. I also have installed the openers. These are the ones from Menards, and I'm pretty impressed with them so far. We'll see how they hold up. They're also Wi-Fi enabled, so I can open them with my phone. Pretty cool. They also have a locking device that automatically locks the door so that you can't open it or force it open without a lot of effort to get past those wheels. There's one on both the 12-foot wide and the 18 wide. This has been a pretty fun experience, I would say. And as far as the installation of the garage door openers goes, I decided not to film that. But it was very simple, just follow the directions. And I've got my stuff sort of temporarily in place, the wiring, until I get the metal put on the inside to permanently route that stuff. So what I did is I just zip tied the wire onto the door, and I'll permanently mount that stuff on the wall once, or probably tuck it behind the metal once that's done. So the garage door installation is complete. Garage door openers are installed. Everything works really, really well. And if anyone has any questions on this installation, please feel free to put it in the comments, and I'm very, very responsive on my comment section. So ask me anything you'd like. I think this was a really fun project. Definitely a do-it-yourself if you had an extra helper. It's doable, or it would be much easier. This lift is highly recommended for a 14 high door, especially one that's 18 wide. I'm still sore from lifting those. I did have to get an assistant for the glass door, or glass panel. It's the heaviest by far, but other than that one, I pretty much was able to muscle all of it in place. So this is Eric with Eric's Barbecue and More. I'll show you some outdoor shots with the doors going up and down, but thanks for watching, and y'all have a great day.